Keanu Reeves.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Director, David Leitch.
And that's why it was such a great pitch. I mean, they talked about it as filmmakers, not as second unit directors, and it's a big jump. Whether you're a writer trying to be a director or an actor trying to be a director, it's, you know, you may speak the same language, but it's just a different skill set, a different way of looking at storytelling, and they were able to nail it.
Now let's talk the awesome action films. I mean the action sequences that you guys did. These beautiful long shots. You actually got to watch the action. You didn't have these splits where you get the hand and you get this and then like everything is so frenetic. You really shot this beautifully, and you could watch all of the action that he was doing, and you're like, I can see how that movement's working, and that actually works out. That's from your backgrounds, I assume. Could you talk a little bit about how you made that decision and what it's like to work as two directors who may have conflicting views sometimes?
Wow, a lot of questions.
But I haven't spoken to you guys yet, so I don't have a lot of time to talk about it.
No, I guess the way the action came out in the movie was, you know, we've been working on the action and the choreography thing for these 20 odd years in the business. We knew that we wanted to do the kind of style of action that, you know, our sensibilities are from Hong Kong cinema, Japanese anime, some of the nice 70s films that you still see, the longer action takes, especially Asian cinema. And it's something we've always wanted to do, but a lot of times when you see modern day action or modern day fight scenes, whether it's the phonetic camera movements or shaky cam as they call it, or the fast editing styles, it's usually out of, one, it's to infuse energy, or two, it's to hide things. And a lot of times it's because you don't get the actors to train them, you don't have somebody that's more than capable in the martial art choreography, or the stunt teams over choreograph or under choreograph, not pay any attention to the cast member. We had a cast member who we knew and who was more than capable of some of the action we wanted to do, the longer takes. I think for John Wick, Keanu went through about 3.5 months of training, whether it was jiu-jitsu, judo, or tactical gun work. And if you have that kind of cast members put in that kind of effort and has those physical attributes, you can do longer takes. And you know, Dave and I both feel that when you're vested in the character, you're vested in the movie, you're vested in the cast member. We had a cast member that could do prolonged takes. You know, you guys like watching Keanu Reeves kick ass, right? And now we're doing Keanu Reeves. So, you know, you can already see the response. So it's just something we want to do. We had an incredible benefit over most first-time directors. We knew who our cast member was going in. Keanu brought the project to us, so when we knew that Keanu was the lead cast member, I mean, you just saw smiles ear to ear. I mean, that's just, you know, your work's done. You got Neo. He's the one that's got to Leo action and cut. We just had to choreograph cool stuff and we did all the work. So, you know, that was a major deal for us.
Yeah, it's like when the performance is compelling, you can keep the camera wide. And but it's not, as an action director, you're, like Chad said, you're hiding things. You're constantly trying to force, you're using camera tricks to make it have more energy. But you have compelling performance and you can just let it live and you can experience it in a fresh way. And I think that's what people are responding to.
The opening sequence of the first fight, when the people are coming in and he's going through the motions of checking out, figuring out where everybody's going in, how long did that take to choreograph? How long did that take to shoot? And how much fun was that? Because, I mean, literally, you watched every element of that action and you shot it all. Nothing was cut out. You saw it perfectly. That must have taken a long time.
You'd be surprised. Like you said, we rehearsed and trained through our company and our choreography team. We do things a little bit different. Rather than teach a cast member 30 moves and have them remember them, we actually put them through stunt guy training and make them stunt worthy. So Keanu actually wasn't just memorizing moves, he actually got good at other choreography. I think the part in the kitchen, he learned that the day of, right before we rolled camera.
I basically had a couple of tools to use. Like I learned that.
We gave him the alphabet and he learned to spell on the day.
And the only choreographed part was probably, I mean, I got to rehearse was the struggle and the stabbing.
Yeah,
that one shot was probably,
other than that, and then I learned moves, like when I jump up on that guy and do the flip and come out.
Yeah, he had the moves, but the order was a little...
So it was like, I had like this toolbox, and then it was like enter into the room, and then it was like...
So when that houseman comes, you watch John Wick kick those little guys' asses, okay, you don't have to give backstory, you know he's a badass. And you want to see him do it, and that was the important thing.
I gotta say, Derek, I don't know if it was the original part of the script, but dinner for 12?
It was. I think it was dinner for 3 on the original.
Yeah, probably. That number kept ticking up. Every time we designed the piece in the kitchen, we're like, how many ones did he get?
It's a chest, it's a beer. I liked his grief. And then I liked his will and determination. And I liked how he had his journey of trying to reclaim his life.
The role of redemption.
Is that what that is?
I think so.
Okay.
Let's see. G.I. Gunnett? I don't even know. How much of your Matrix stunt training did you apply towards John Wick?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my ground, you know, in that sense. So the process of how to train, you know, how to learn choreography, the experience of having to do the collaboration and cooperation that a fight involves, and then with the camera, just all of that is, you know, really I learned on the Matrix, so it's kind of like where I grew up in that kind of action.
Well, you also did a lot of, I've seen some of these interviews, gun fu,
Yeah.
car fu, and kung fu. Would you like to explain that concept and how it all came about?
We should let these guys talk about that.
I mean, they're just terms that became sort of catchphrases for us. I mean, when you approach choreography for a movie, you're always trying to, you approach it obviously character first, and then the story second, and like what world you're creating. And then you have to sort of have the spectacle part of it, and like, what are we trying to do? So we were calling it gun fu because we're infusing traditional martial arts with this tactical gun work, and it became
A great part of the choreography, though, is that when he was hitting people with the car, he'd then sit there and he'd fire as they're going along, he'd jump out and he'd shoot at people. Great blocking. Did you have that in the original script when you were doing the original concepts?
In one of the original scripts, I'm sure. But I mean, a lot of that came about, you know, when they were doing pre-production. Because one of my favorite things was walking into their office late one night, it was like midnight, and there's 15 grown men in a circle looking down at the floor. And I walk in, I realize they had bought like 15 Mattel, the little cars. They were like, and then he does this, and then he goes, wait, and you realize, we're getting paid for this. It's a cool job. It is.
How many days did you guys shoot for?
46?
Yeah, 46.
46. Oh God, I thought you said 26. I was just like, you're kidding me. No. And did you go over days, or were you right on target?
No, we ran out of money.
Yeah, we didn't run out of money. We actually
Ran out of money.
we ran out of money, and we ran out of calendar. And Christmas was like the next day, and we're like, we got to wrap this thing up. And it was, and the people in the New York crew were ready to wrap it up as well. And so we were done at a certain point. But unlike most movies, we never even reshot anything. We had one day of kind of inserts, but it was a mad dash. I mean, it's funny because everyone, Chad and Dave talk about like, oh, we like to do single takes on the action because it's artistic, but also it was really cheap to do it that way. Our days was to have one master and Keanu got it. Okay, let's move on.
That's our genius.
It's partly by KT Gala, who's actually sitting right over there. You can wave your hand and say, woo! I didn't hear it. All right, and it's actually for Keanu, what was your favorite day on the set? But I'm actually going to ask all of you that question. What was your favorite day on the set?
I know he said my name, but it isn't gonna have to go first.
I'm going to start with you.
Okay,
Derek.
I was only there for primary shooting for the last week or so, but I spent a good month in New York for pre-production. And my favorite was going to the table read with all the actors, and when the dog dies, there was this pause, and you began to hear and Chad's like, for fuck's sake, we've read this 20 times.
I think
it's an emotional moment.
In front of people, you're doing a great job. I want you to know that.
I think probably in like day 2 of the home invasion, which is like day 5 of the shoot. You know, I mean, we have an amazing studio behind us in Seven Lionsgate. They're incredible. But when we made the movie, we did it independently. And who you're looking at now are this team and Darren Prescott and our fight coordinator. We had a great. This is it. And like on day 3 or day 2 of the fight scene, I'm looking around going, oh my God, the lunatics are running this out. We can do whatever we want. And that was, I realized this is going to be a really fun movie. And it was. You know, we were able to get around and go, what if he did this? What if he shot a guy going? I mean, it was a blast. We just made.
It was like probably the first or second day of the home assault as well. Dave and I were sitting in the bedroom watching monitors as Keanu was, you know, killing people. And, you know, Dave and I have been fortunate enough to have been second-year directors on a lot of the big shows in town over the last 15 years. And we still, even at our age, looked over and go, holy shit, we're making a movie with Keanu Reeves. We didn't want to say a word, we just literally looked over and go, it really happens, yeah, wow. That's Keanu Reeves out there. No, we felt, that was probably one of the luckiest days I've ever felt in my life.
One of my favorite days was we were shooting the finale sequence with Michael Nyquist and Keanu, and it was the day before, and the weather reports were coming in, it was going to freeze. We couldn't have the rain machines, and line producer's coming to us, he's like, you're going to put your actors out there in the rain, like, it's going to freeze, they're going to be cold, like, how are we going to get through this night? You're never going to make your day, like, how are we going to do it? You know, Chad and I look at each other and we're like, we should just pull the rain machines, like, we should pull the rain machines. So we unrelenting, just the work ethic is crazy, and it's all for the betterment of the project, so he's great.
So I assume your best day was under the rain machines?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think it's hard to pick one day, and maybe it's more connected to what everyone is saying. It was just the camaraderie, or being connected to an idea and a passion about what you're doing, and then going every day into what we had to do it, you know. For me, I always say that challenges are opportunities, and so to have so much opportunity, you know, but it's the spirits of these people and these artists, you know, and so to have that moment, or to have that moment and to be working with you guys in that scene on the second day and trying to not let you down, you know. Yeah, man, because the bar was raised high, man, and you know, with your words and the opportunity, and so that aside, so there's that, but then I have to say that the scene when John is driving around at the airport, that was just like silly, crazy fun. I mean, that was like, after all the hard, that was like one of the last things that we filmed, and like to be like, okay, so now you're gonna do all that training you had, spinning cars around in that spot, and we're gonna wet it down, and we're just gonna film you for a day. You're like, okay. Spinning the fucking thing around. You're just like,
you're grieving. You're grieving.
Right, don't smile.
You are grieving.
So that was wacky, people, crazy fun.
I keep hearing everything in the news about how you are now 50 and you look really 40, maybe 38. It's unbelievable. So I think this question's great. From @Savia, for whatever. I don't know why she's asking me this.
Don't do that question. Thank you.
Okay, so Nina at 0715. Any plans for a John Wick sequel? I've heard some of you guys talk about it.
I mean, it's not up to us. It's up to you guys and the audience, and you telling everybody that you love the movie. And if you didn't love the movie, just tell them you love the movie anyway. So it's up to you guys. We work for you guys, and if you guys like it and the audience likes it, then we'd love to get the band back together. We have a lot of stories rolling around that.
There's a lot of chapters left, I think.
Potentially the world's. When someone said prequel, I mean, that's always been something in our heads.
Well, we love these characters and we love this world, and in fact, when we were working on the various drafts, you know, some of the elements were there, but some weren't. And so you have the seedlings of, you know, killing a man in a bar with you know, 3 men in a bar with a pencil, or what he did to get out. And we want to see and delve into it at some point. But again, it comes down to how is this movie going to do this weekend? You know?
Here's what I was saying. You got a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. You've got a filled dome.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've got locations all across the state to your team list where most of those locations are filled up. It's going to do well because it's freaking amazing. The film is fantastic. And I mean, it gets a 92 because it's just that good. Between the way you shot it, the way you acted in it, the action, this freaking awesome script by, I mean, it's your third one, but you know, really your first big one. This thing's awesome. And I think that everybody here certainly loved it. I know I did. Sit back for this one.
Yeah, we've kind of known him for 15 years. Yeah, you know little kung fu.
You've been studying martial arts a long time.
Oh man, I mean,
That's hard to fake up there, dude. Trust us, we know. I was just double. No,
I would say you spend more time in training martial arts than most people that have black belts.
Yeah, I agree.
You spent years of your life learning martial arts, obviously different styles, choreography. Anyway, let's not have this argument here.
Who thought he looked pretty good up there? Who thought he looked good? That's real stuff, though. That's not reason. That's pretty good.
Show us something!
A 1-inch punch.
This is from Fat Shadow, and for you gentlemen, what was the process to determine the types of fighting techniques that each character would utilize?
Ooh, good question.
Good job, Fat. Whatever, he just removed it. Sorry. Fat Shadow.
We've choreographed numerous, I mean, so many different kind of martial arts, from kickboxing, Muay Thai, to MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, Penchak-Silat, Arclite, all these different things. And like Dave said, you try to do it based on character, story, and world. We'd always talked about Keanu, about how he was going to move, and it just seemed like the bear was always a good, very husky and more like a bear, something a little bit more contact-oriented. And we always knew we wanted to do a lot of tactical gun work and mix it with the martial arts. So rather jump spin, hook kick, or wire work, or backflips, we're like, we want contact. We want impact contact. So we stayed pretty hardcore with judo, Japanese jiu-jitsu, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We brought in some of LA SWAT's finest and some of our SEAL team friends that worked with Keanu on tactical gun work. And they drilled the crap out of them.
How long did you rehearse? Clearly you know a little bit about it.
Anyway.
Yeah, if you a good 10 seconds maybe.
I asked you guys when we were in prep, like, what's the best action sequence you guys have ever seen? And you guys showed me that sequence of Ang Bak. I think it was Tony Jaa going up the...
Oh, Tommy Abdul.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that was unbelievable, and that was nonstop. And you're wondering, how did this guy physically do it, let alone how did the filmmakers get it done where everybody was able to be on their marks? And that was one of the models of the movie.
We're big fans of Tony Jaa and all that, but we also love a lot of Korean cinema, like Man from Nowhere. They did. Outstanding. Yeah.
You worked with a lot of directors when you're doing your second unit. You had mentioned a couple that, or you mentioned that there were some that you really enjoyed working with and you learned a lot from. Who were those?
Well, we spent 10 years with Wachowskis. You can't have better instructors than this one. Visually, I mean,
Yeah, we love them, love their work.
that's where we all met. That's where, you know, after, you know, a long stint, 3 Matrixes, a Speed Racer, V for Vendetta, and a Ninja Assassin. You know, I mean, that definitely leaves an imprint on your visual style, for sure. We've also worked with Zack Snyder, Guy Ritchie, James Mangold, Francis Lawrence.
No, it's just a couple.
it's just a couple of them. But I don't have a favorite gun.
Pretty good with all.
Yeah, I don't
That shot, Caltech?
Keltec,
What was that thing at the end?
Keltec shot.
Yeah, I didn't like the way it, the discharge.
He's pretty good with an HMK 9mm. The P30, the mini Glock.
Yeah, I just, but John Wick, he doesn't have a favorite gun. They're all just,
extensions of him.
Yeah, they're just, yeah.
Cast
Sounds like you
man.
guys had a lot of fun on this, and you guys really gave us an hour and 40 plus minutes of a ton of awesome, fun film that just had a great storyline, had nonstop action, great acting, amazing directing. I just couldn't have been happier with all of the awesome action scenes. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank
Thanks for coming.
you can go home now.
As he gets pumped hard.